or not. Nobody knows. I'm talking. It's your boy, the current boy knows. Hold on. So it's a Diddy day. Diddy style. He's on. Top again. Get up. Hey, y'all, Petey. 213. Copy. 17. Mr. Hit 10. Jump in. Left behind. Say you wasn't forewarned. It's the Now that you know that the HGM Brando knows, I'm gonna go ahead and start my show.
Sun rooftop, digging in the scene with the gangster lean and and we ain't coming down. See on my face that smile. See on my head that crown. I'm on top of the world, talking it down, baby.
I moved up the hood that had the church on the corner where I sit and talk shit all day cause I wanna. And on top of that, wasn't none of y'all gonna do nothing but keep running your mouth and keep frontin'. Go ahead and say something. I'll wait. I ain't gonna wait too late, cause in a minute I'm escape. Cause there is no debate. No, it's not an option. You gotta keep the clock watch.
Sun rooftop, digging in the scene with the gangster lean and we ain't coming down. See on my face that smile. See on my
Yes, sir. Yo, Cam, tell them where we from, baby.
I'm from 140th and Lenox. I'm from NFL. Up the block is 40 Wolves. Lou Simpsons, I'm on 142nd Cross Square. D. Ferg on number 8th Avenue. I don't see you around none of this. Not from none of that.
About Jordan number 6.
Let's go and get into this.
I also want to go and some of these transcripts have been put out there. And I want to share some info here because this is some interesting stuff here. This is some interesting stuff about the leaking. This has come out and people are posting it, part of the transcripts of what was discussed in court. And here it says the court. Attorney Mark, do you know who the source of the article was? Mark goes, I do not. Have you talked to everyone on your side? Mark says, I have. The court says to confirm, yes. The court, that they had nothing to do with this article? And Mark says, yes, I have confirmed that. Yes, Your Honor. Here we go. The court. Well, someone is lying. The courtroom was closed. The transcript was sealed. I have inquired of the court staff. Nobody has done it on the court's behalf. And there would be no reason for anyone in the court to do anything. Whoa, someone's lying. So, Miss Comey, do you have any explanation for what happened that might point to someone outside of this courtroom. There were only a few people in here. It's all on the record because it's only the people who are sitting here at counsel table and designated people from each side. Ms. Comey, you stood up. You identified certain people that should be in the courtroom. So we have that on the record. Ms. Garagos, you got up and you identified certain people on the record, and that's on the record. So, Ms. Comey, do you have an explanation for this? And Ms. Comey says, the only explanation, Your Honor, is the one Your Honor set forth, which is someone who was present for the sealed proceeding violated the court's sealing order and disclosed sealed information. The court, Attorney Mark, do you have some other explanation? Mark says, I don't, Your Honor. I have no explanation. I've talked with my team about it. I have no explanation whatsoever. Goes on. Court emphasized in that order that it expects that the parties and any individual or agency subject to the order will be strictly adhered to the terms of the order and the governing rules. A violation of that order, exactly what happened here, there is no doubt about that, may result in civil or criminal contempt charges for all those involved. The court issued that order so that this case could be tried on the facts presented in this courtroom, not through the media. That is exactly what the defense asked for. The court's commitment to trying this case based on the facts and evidence presented here alone was reaffirmed by the parties repeatedly, including through jury selection. That commitment is what I ask of each juror in this case because they were selected. The commitment is what I instructed the jury on before this trial commenced. This is the commitment that the participants in this courtroom responsible for what happened violated. I will make sure this commitment is honored, and I will swiftly investigate and punish any violations that take place. As for what we are going to do here, I will hear from the parties. But Ms. Comey and Mark, you are each personally responsible for the conduct of your teams and your clients. You will review each action taken and sign all pleadings and applications regardless of who prepares them. There is no passing the buck anymore. The buck stops with you. If anything happens, then lead counsel is responsible. Wow. I want to finish off by showing one more excerpt of this transcript. There's another one here that's very, very interesting. It's number 3. So I wanted to point certain things. We're not going to read all of it within the transcripts, but those key things are very, very important. Judge is not playing around, but this one stuck out too. Here's what the court says, the judge. This is the only warning I will give. Everyone here is on notice that if there is any further violation of this court's orders or the rules of conduct applicable to these proceedings, that violation will be met with a formal inquiry with people testifying under oath, the delivery of devices and communications to this court for review, and possible civil or criminal sanctions. So don't do it. Don't do it. Do I have each side's of affirmation affirm that they will reiterate to everyone affiliated with their sides to adhere to the rules and orders of this court moving forward? And do you understand lead counsel's responsibility and obligations here? Ms. Comey? Yes, Your Honor. Mark? I do as well. Thank you, Your Honor. The court? All right. Are there any other further applications related to this issue? Not from the government. Not from us, Your Honor. Thank you. So, boom, folks, the judge is not playing with this at all. The judge is saying no more games. Nothing. Ooh, who arrived? Who do we got? Who do we got here? It looks like we have Janice Combs in the house. Janice Combs in the house. Oh, no, look who it is. It's Brendan Paul. Brendan Paul. Hey, Brendan. Thanks for showing up. Oh, look, he's decked out. He got some nice fresh shoes, some glasses, buzz cut. Brendan Paul comes in. Oh, Brendan Paul comes in right in back of Diddy's mom. Oh, imagine that if they would have met face to face. Oh, my goodness, that was a close call. Holy smokes. Brendan Paul comes in right behind Diddy's mom in a separate car. They could have came out the same time and looked at each other. Holy smokes, there could have been a confrontation there. Brendan Paul's going to testify against Diddy, and that's Diddy's mom, Janice Combs, arriving. Is that Diddy's mom? Somebody said that's an aunt. That's Janice. That's Janice, right? Janice. Yes, that's Janice. Looks like Janice to me. But, yo, that was pretty crazy, man. Wow, what about that timing right there? Holy smokes. I had to look and do a double take because it was like, is that Janice? It is Janice. We know Janice. I mean, wow. She changed her look up a little bit, right? Looks like she got some new hair done. Wow. I had to do a double take a minute, man. I'm like, was that really Janice Combs? Yes, Janice Combs back in the house. She comes every day. Every day. She missed some days, though, maybe a few weeks ago, but she's normally there. I would say Janice Combs is at this court hearing probably about 80, 90% of the time. And Brendan Paul goes right behind her in a separate vehicle. That would have been crazy if that door would have opened at the same time. Dude, imagine the mom face-to-face with Brendan Paul out on the street, the man that's going to be testifying against her son. Oh, that would have been interesting. Close call. Close call. You never know who you're going to bump into in the street. Oh. Whoa. That was interesting. So Brendan Paul, big witness coming up today. But going back to what we were saying, the judge has had enough. The judge said the buck stops with Attorney Mark and AUSA Comey, and they're responsible for the people behind them. The judge said, this is your warning and your only warning. Don't violate these court's rules. I will have your devices seized, brought in, analyzed. I will have people testify under oath. Do you understand? So the judge is tired of this. The judge has already warned Diddy numerous times about trying to eye the jury. We've already had juror problems. Might have another one, juror number 7. We don't know what the outcome of this. And then the leaking and the continue to talk where things are supposed to be sealed and stuff is getting revealed. Who's doing the leaking? I'll be honest, it points right to the defense. The defense is the best one that can benefit from these leaks. Why would the prosecution do it? They don't even talk. They don't even give no press conference. They don't say nothing. Why would the prosecution release things like that? I think it goes right back to TMZ. I was thinking Brian Steele, but something tells me the Garagos clan, the Garagoses, and their ties to TMZ getting information out. But we don't know what the publication was either, that specific publication that they were talking about. Come on in. Good morning. Good morning. I see a lot of people starting to come into the chat. We are the best live Diddy chat on the face of this earth. Thank you for being a part of it. Consistently every day, day in and out, from the beginning to the end each day. You can rely on us on JLR Investigates for being here. So here we are. So I'm getting up all the articles, getting everything in play here. Janice seems to arrive. She came a little early. Where are the boys? The boys, I did not see any indication that the boys came yesterday. Did they stop coming? Last time they were there was when Kanye West made his grand appearance. Hasn't been back since. Hasn't been back since. Diddy trial. Ain't no trial like a Diddy trial, right? Ain't no trial like a Diddy trial. Combs' former assistant arrives at the courthouse ahead of expected testimony. Brendan Paul, one of Sean Combs' former assistant, who is expected to testify in his criminal trial, just arrived at the courthouse and is going through security. Prosecutors said they plan to call Paul and question him for 90 minutes today. We will be on it. Absolutely expect drugs. Most likely expect guns and other criminal conduct that Paul is responsible. Or maybe Paul being part of what happened to Jane, testifying a little bit about things that happened to Jane. We shall see. I also want to know how much Paul was getting paid. How much salary? We should do a salary poll. How much salary do you think Paul got paid, considering some of these assistants, their forced labor, and the salary that they got for what they did just is ridiculous. Probably like if you've been here for day one, press 1. Whoa, look at the ones. Holy smokes. I'm sitting here talking about Paul and Jay-Z with the comment. Thank you, Jay-Z. We know you're not the real Jay-Z, but Jay-Z, thank you. Says, press 1 if you've been here. And look at all these ones. See what I'm saying, folks? Many of us have been here since the beginning. We want to know what's up. We want to know what's going on. We want to watch the takedown of Diddy in real time. Maybe he doesn't get taken down. Trials are unpredictable. Every single odd is against Diddy. I think the government has proved their case with the RICO, establishing that he violated RICO federal law. But you never know. You never know. And, will he defy the odds and be that 1% that can beat the case and come out of the courthouse a free man? I mean, it would be a shocker. It'd be a shocker. And I would be shocked if that happened. But we'll talk about it. If Diddy comes out, I'm going to be like, oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. But a lot of people been here since day one. So we shall see. Judges on the bench. Apparently, we are getting everything situated here. Welcome aboard. Come on in. JLR investigates. Don't see tweets from Inner City Press yet this morning. I'm sure he's on his way. The great Matthew. But yeah, a lot of people been here, man. Y'all are cool. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ain't no trial like a Diddy trial. Ain't no trial like a Diddy trial. Brendan Paul. In a lawsuit, music producer Rodney Jones filed against Sean Combs. He alleged that Paul worked as Combs' mule to acquire and distribute drugs and guns. Drugs and guns. Chaos forever. Nice to see you, Chaos forever. Teresa Wright, thank you for being a member. Linny. Doomsday is approaching for Diddy. Lenny says. SG1007 also gifted a membership. SG1007, another lucky member of JLR Investigates, courtesy of SG1007. Thank you. Sweet Shiva, good morning. April Gardner, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good afternoon, good evening. I like these trials starting early in the morning. I like it. I like it. I'm one of those guys that gets up around 6 o'clock in the morning, gets myself some coffee, do a little workout a little bit. I should be doing more workouts, stretching, seeing what's going on in the world, and then Let's get the party started. Chaos Forever with the gifted membership. One lucky member of JLR Investigates. Thank you for joining our family. I also like to watch afterward, after this trial, some YouTubers put footage out there and kind of just show you the outside scene. I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating seeing what's happening outside that courtroom, particularly like people that are entering the courtroom during the breaks. They all come outside and start doing their videos, typing away. You could see like a lot of people are out there in their the media tents, some of the spectators that come, supporters of Diddy, but not many supporters, but there is quite a few. But I really think next week on the defense, everybody around the country, I think more people are going to pay attention big time. I think we're in that pretty much the biggest lull of this trial. Harper Day, yes, you've been around since Summer Wells. Yes, Summer Wells. Ooh, 4-year anniversary just passed, June 15th. Let's hope Summer Wells is found. Moment of silence for the victims. Day 26, Ebony says. Yeah, let's do a moment of silence. Just do a moment of silence for all victims out there of SA, domestic violence, both men and female, both domestic violence. It's horrible. Yeah, we'll do a moment of silence. We'll just stay silent for about 30 seconds. All right. Thank you. Speak up. Speak out. If you're trapped in an abusive relationship, you can break those chains. You can. You can. People will help you. Don't be like Diddy. Don't be like a Diddy. If he beats these charges, I think a lot of people will have meltdowns. I'm one of them. Peaches says, yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be triggered if he somehow walks out. Whether he worked the jurors, I just don't think he can work all the jurors. I really don't think so. I just can't see 12 people with the totality of what we saw all have the consensus that he's not guilty. It's just, but I can see 1 or 2 people on, the defense siding with the defense on this. I can very well see that. That can really confuse this case, be a thorn, prevent guilty verdicts. Doesn't mean he walks. Means that we'll be here again covering the next one. I truly doubt that, though. I think convictions are coming. We shall see. We shall see. Special Agent Penland continues her testimony. She's the summary witness. She's the one with the graphs and charts and text. Now, the defense honed in on it yesterday a little bit about showing that Cassie was more or less a willing participant on numerous of these freak-offs, on top of initiating some of it, you could say. Judge reprimands the lawyers. That was a big thing. And Brendan Paul is going to come on the stand. He was supposed to start yesterday, but he will 100% start today. Norma Davis, thank you for the gifted membership. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that, Norma Davis. 1 gifted membership. Courtesy of Norma Davis and my friend, my friend Jonathan. Thank you for the gifted membership, Jonathan. Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, Jonathan, my Florida friend. Nice to see you this morning. Always happy. See with the smile. You're smiling with the mug. Love it. Love it. This stays by my side literally all the time. You need coffee. You need some caffeine to stay up and process what's going on, Love and Happy, thank you. This case is so important to so many. This is the first chapter of many. Finally, we're starting to get questions answered for all these years. I think it did just opened up a box, and all these victims have a story to tell, and other perpetrators out there are going to be exposed. I really do. I really think other ones are going to get exposed, and we're going to see more and more possibly of these RICO cases, more and more. Jonathan A is a cool dude. Yeah, he's good. Good peeps. Good peeps. Darla Johnson, thank you. Chaos Forever. What is today's master meme? Yeah, Magnolia can whip these memes up pretty quick. We'll see what meme that Magnolia can whip up pretty quick here. Alex Reese, welcome. Good morning, Lexi. Texie. 24 months, Lexi. 24 months. 2 years. 2 years you've been here, Lexi. Thank you. 2 years. Wow. 23, 24, 25. What were we doing 2 years ago? Holy smokes. I don't even know where we were. I think we were... I don't even know where we were 2 years ago. I don't even know. Teresa Wright, welcome. And Chaos Forever said, good morning, Team Rico. Uh-oh, look at this. Dun, 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 dun. I have potential bad news. Spill it, Magnolia. What's the bad news? Uh-oh. One of the drawers sick. Uh-oh. Judge said, well, oh boy. Music is up. Oh no. You can't proceed without that drawer, and the drawer, I don't think, can just be replaced for the day. Oh boy. You never know what you're going to get in the Diddy trial. So we're going to try to find out more information. Thanks for sharing that, Magnolia. Holy smokes. Are we canceled for the day? We shall find out. We got a sidebar. The judge said, I don't see how we can proceed today. The judge said, I don't see how we can proceed today. The AUSA, is it a more than 1 day thing? The judge says, sounds like a one-time thing. Mark, could we have a sealed sidebar so I can ask questions? Fine, sealed. Oh, boy. Oh, no, folks. Juror drama at the Sean P. Diddy Combs case. We have a sick juror, and the judge said on his own, I don't think we can proceed today. That's not what the AUSA said. That's not what the defense said. The judge said, I don't see how we can proceed today with this juror at being sick. Seems a little suspect to me, some people are saying in the chat, with the juror being sick. Who's the juror? Oh, imagine if it was juror number 7. Oh. And they addressed the juror yesterday, what we still don't know about. We still don't know about what happened yesterday in that sealed court hearing, because none of the media had reported anything about what happened outside of that. Oh, man. Oh, no, folks. Well, whoever's sick, let's hope for their recovery and hope that they can come back stronger than ever so they can be on this bench and continue this case. Vertigo, the sensation of spinning and whirling. It's described as a feeling like you or your surroundings are moving when you're actually not in motion. Oh my goodness. I've had that before. I've actually woke up before and everything is just out of sync. The remedy for that is sleep. I think sleep. If you got that, I think it's a quick fix. Well, for me, it was a quick fix, but I've had similar things to that before. Wake up in the morning and everything is spinning and I'm just lopsided. The best thing to do is just lay down and just rest your head. It's a condition in your inner ear. Oh, man. I have it, no quick fix. Yeah, some people have it permanently, like a long time. I'm not a doctor. I can't speak about all of that. I just kind of give you a summary of what's going on here. A sensation of motion or spinning that is often described as dizziness. Holy smokes. That's why we got the music on, folks, already. Something going on. Judge says he's not sure if court can proceed today after juror calls out sick. The judge took the bench and said that there's a sick juror who's unable to attend court today. Their partner called and told the court that the juror has vertigo symptoms and had to go home. The judge said he doesn't see how we can proceed today. Oh, man. Just when we were all ready to listen to Brendan Paul, man. Brendan Paul. What do you think Brendan Paul's thinking? Oh, my goodness. I got to come in another day. With that being said, if court is delayed another day, I'm wondering if no court tomorrow, will they change that and make them come in tomorrow? Doubtful. Well, we shall see about that. And 2, that means the prosecution finishes their case Friday and the defense doesn't start their defense till Monday. And if they go longer, if they go the 5 days like Mark said, then you are butting into the week before 4th of July when this gets in the hands of the jurors. Oh, boy. Yeah, no court tomorrow. Oh, boy. I really wanted to do this today. Tomorrow is a federal holiday, so they're not going to bring anyone in on a federal holiday. And that's a recent federally recognized holiday, by the way. It was only started recognized as a federal holiday in 2021. A lot of federal holidays out there. Believe me, there's a lot. Usually also with federal holidays that fall on Monday, a lot of times federal courts aren't in session on Friday either. They get that 4-day weekend. All right. Sealed court hearing or sealed sidebar right now. Sealed sidebar. And the Washington Post puts out yet more jury problems could disrupt court today. We're now waiting to find out if the trial will even proceed today, after yet another juror issue just cropped up. One of the jury members couldn't make it to court because they experienced vertigo symptoms while commuting in, and had to turn around. So the jurors driving in was commuting, had vertigo, spinning. Juror turned around, went back home, notified the court. I'm feeling dizzy. The parties are discussing the matter right now. This follows the dismissal of juror number 6 on Monday after the judge lost faith in his credibility, and the murky issue with another juror that was hashed out behind closed doors Tuesday. Now, wouldn't it be ironic if this was juror number 7, the same juror that was an issue yesterday? Hey, Bonnie. Nice to see you. Thanks for the comment. Very stressful, Bonnie says. Bonnie says this case is very stressful. Not surprised. Lisa Smith, welcome. Marshmallow. Good morning. Chaos Forever wants to see the memes. Chaos Forever is here for the memes. Here for the memes. So we got, oh my goodness, folks. Inner City Press goes on to say, what is it with, what juror is it? After juror 6 was excluded, what juror was the subject of what was yesterday's subject regarding the threat to seize and search cell phones? Would this be a time to switch a second juror to an alternate? Okay, we got something. 9:04. We're back. 1 minute ago. All right, so let me share what the judge is saying here. I don't know if we're going to proceed here, but they were on a sidebar. But they were talking about One Stop, the drug dealer. Judge, very good. We're going to, I'm sorry. Okay. We're going to inquire further into the juror issue. Meanwhile, some exhibits have been flagged. Rocks, Mr. Driscoll, ? Some exhibits have been flagged. Driscoll says, there's no foundation. This is One Stop. So, are we proceeding here or not? That's one. 2, the sidebar was discussed about a juror, but the judge said, we're going to inquire further into the juror issue. Now they're talking about exhibits that are flagged. One is something to do with One Stop, who we've said in the chat over and over, who is One Stop? Who is One Stop? So apparently One Stop exhibits that I feel like with this, the defense is trying to object to this particular exhibit about One Stop. Maybe the judge now is ironing out other issues. Maybe that's it for the day. Housekeeping matters, and that's it for the day, or the case proceeds today. We're waiting to see. But the judge called it a juror issue. Now, that might be the issue what we have here, or the other juror. Get it together, federal courts. Get it together. Someone is sick. I can't see how you can proceed. Are they legally? Let me ask. All right, so let me ask you all lawyer-wise. Any lawyers in the chat? Can they proceed today with an alternate juror today while that one juror is out sick, and then when the juror gets better, bring that juror back in and take the alternate out? Can they replace the juror today with an alternate just for today? Or can they do that? Or I'm thinking the one with vertigo, can they just replace that juror and bring in an alternate and proceed the case? People are saying no. No, they can't. No. And would that be fair for a juror that be kicked off the case simply for being sick on a one-time sick time basis, which the judge, I guess they're feeling like it's like a one-day thing? No, because the juror would miss crucial evidence. See what I'm saying? A lot of people have a lot of opinions here. We'll see what they do. The juror's not there. We know that. The juror turned around. The juror's home. I just can't see how they can proceed here unless they kick that juror off. We'll wait and see. We got the music. Suspense. Continuous coverage of the Sean P. Diddy Combs case, folks. We got juror drama, sick jurors. We got a sick juror. We got an issue with another juror. It's all about the jurors, baby. Jurors, jurors, jurors. Hey, it's Aaron Katursky, ABC Justice reporter. He knows a lot about federal law. What do we got? New, thank you. Very appreciated. Thank you. Darla, thank you. Sammy Sunshine. Thank you, Sammy. Nicola. Thank you. The freak off. Nicola says the freak off videos made a juror sick. You know, you might have something there, Nicola. The freak off videos. They were watching freak off videos all yesterday, like more than most. They've watched it. Maybe one of the jurors just got dizzy and was just like, oh, God, I'm sick. That's a great point. I don't think so, but, you know, what I mean, maybe a juror was traumatized overnight and just got dizzy. But that type of I've had that type of symptom before. Everything's the day before, I'm fine. I wake up in the morning, I go up, wake up and start walking, and everything is just like spinning. Like I feel like I'm like ready to topple over. Pop a couple aspirin, go back into bed and lay down. Usually, like I remember I had it a few times in the past, like different times, never lasting more than a day. But when I get it, took some aspirin, go to bed, and usually by the afternoon I'm good. But it can really rock you, man. You want everything balanced up. Or maybe it's the same juror that they were addressing yesterday, and the juror's all stressed out. Monday and yesterday are the first time the jury saw videos. Prior to this week, they had only seen still shots. Now, yesterday, thank you, Magnolia, for clarifying. Because by listening to the trial, if you think about it, going back, they haven't necessarily watched freak-off videos. They watched freak-off videos yesterday. And, I would say most reasonable, sound-minded people would probably send chills down their spine watching this stuff. Like, it really could have lasting effects on someone's health. Here we go. New info on the screen. Holmes is Driscoll. In the absence of proof that it is one stop, it is not relevant. The judge. It's obviously a drug transaction. Ms. Steiner, with whom is this exhibit to be used? Okay, so judge, judge questions or the judge pretty much said whatever this exhibit is of one stop that the defense doesn't want, the judge is saying it's clearly showing a drug transaction. AUSA Steiner, no particular witness. Even if it's not one stop, there's much about drugs. Yo, you know what that makes me think? That they don't know the identity of one stop? Even if it's not one stop. Why don't you just tell us who One Stop is? One Stop's name has been brought up so many times, the LA drug dealer, that why isn't One Stop even indicted if One Stop is going to get indicted? AUSA Steiner goes on to say we may have another exhibit that could establish this. The judge now says, okay, we'll see. Ms. Shapiro, in the defendant's request to charge the issue is raised about how the RICO predicate should be addressed. Let me refresh your recollection. Housekeeping matters, folks. Magnolia put that up on the screen. What's going on here? What's going on here? If you have somebody who would testify this was One Stop's number, but I've just read this, it's some kind of transaction, but it does not reference drugs. Woo! 3 bottles for a price. Bottles of what? Bottles of what? Bottles of baby oil? Is One Stop involved with baby oil? Bottles of what? 3 bottles of what? Liquid Molly? Liquid Molly? Okay, so they're ironing out some serious stuff right now. Jury's not in the room. We don't know if court's going to be in session today. They might be just doing housekeeping matters and say adjourn for the day. We shall see. New report out by Washington Post says the judge said the court will inquire to learn more about the juror's condition. So when we just saw a couple minutes ago on the screen about the judge saying we'll inquire more about the juror, I think the judge is now inquiring, having someone with this court staff inquire about the juror that is sick. It's unclear at this point whether they will try to replace that juror who has experienced vertigo symptoms on their way to court. Exactly what I said, that could be a possibility. There's a possibility, folks, that they might get rid of this sick juror and just replace the juror with an alternate and just keep it moving. The parties are proceeding for now by going over some evidence the government wants to present, which the defense is objecting to. Yo. But, I mean, how's that fair for the juror that invested 6 weeks into this only to be sick for a day and the juror to be kicked off the case, replaced with an alternate, and that's it, and the juror's done? How's that fair for that juror? But sometimes life isn't fair. So that's what's going on. We don't know, one, if court is going to proceed today because of the juror, but they are going over exhibits that the defense is objecting to. And particularly, we're talking about a drug transaction with One Stop and stuff about the RICO. Defendants cannot participate in sidebars, but Sean Combs is able to see what the judge and attorneys are discussing. via a live transcript on monitors at the attorney's table. He's following along intently, leaning in and reading the feed from the monitor at that defense attorney Garagos's empty seat. They're trying to inquire whether this juror's condition is temporary or it may be ongoing. That's what the judge is inquiring about, whether this is a one-time deal. But if the juror indicates that the juror might be sick for days, they might just say, okay, the juror has to be replaced. So I think it's up to the juror. They're going to talk to the juror. They're inquiring right now. The court staff, it appears to be working towards this juror to find out if the juror is only going to be able to miss 1 day. Remember, tomorrow's no day, so you got at least 2 days. Some crazy stuff, folks. That's what's going on. Housekeeping matters. Da-na-na-na. Oh, wait a second. Request for charge will be addressed. Anything more before we end. That's what the judge just said. Anything more before we end. We might not have court today, folks. Just a heads up. AUSA, let me pull up the exhibits. I'm looking at 432. Seems it links to the number 7333 with one stop. Driscoll's insisting it still can't be taken to refer to drugs. So whatever the prosecution wants to submit has something to deal with some sort of transaction that the prosecution feels is a drug transaction with one stop. But the defense is saying it can't be taken to refer to drugs. So it has nothing to do with drugs. So it shouldn't be relevant. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. JLR investigates. Court drama. And maybe, possibly, I don't know. Maybe they'll say take a break for a little bit before. Maybe they say take a break until they find out the juror, I don't know. Because if they inquire about the juror being sick long-term more than 1 day, they could just put an alternate right now and keep it moving today. I think they're going to take a break until they find out more about whether this juror can return or not. Sick juror. Here we go. Here comes some more info. What does FB stand for? AUSA, football, the shape. And Miss Ventura said that perps were yellow. The defendant's chats with one stop are not hearsay. That applies to the D-Rock chats as well. Judge says that doesn't address to what Mr. Driscoll says. We're waiting to see what's up here. Perks, yellow perks, football. Now, I want to go back because I swear this stuff was talked about Friday as court was last Friday as court was adjourned about these transactions. And I swore it's a D-Rock and another name. And I want to see if that name pulls up because that name could be one stop. Maybe. I have to go look back. It was on Friday the 13th. So I'm going to go back to Friday the 13th while I'm here. Yeah, crazy stuff. AUSA, A432 is a longer chat with references to drugs, including yellow footballs. Yellow footballs. Why don't you send that to the court? Yellow footballs. Yellow footballs. Court is adjourned until Friday. Oh, boy. There you have it. Oh, man. Oh. Dun, 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 dun. Breaking news. George is sick. Adjourned for Friday. It looks like that George is coming back. Oh, man. So we're going to get more info about this. Brendan Paul in court today, and it doesn't look like he's going to testify today. Court is adjourned. Court is adjourned. We'll stick around for a bit. Just try to get recap. This is crazy. But the question is that Jor coming back or not? I mean, we're going to try to find out if other issues are being talked about. I was so looking. Looks like me and Magnolia will be doing Moscow, Idaho. There's a court hearing in Moscow, Idaho this afternoon. So we'll probably, I think it's 2:30 our time this afternoon in Moscow, Idaho, in reference to Brian Kohlberger. I think we're probably going to cover that this afternoon since this is not in session. There's another court hearing going on. So hopefully you guys want to know a little bit about Brian Kohlberger, Moscow, Idaho. Come back this afternoon. We'll set up a live stream for that. We'll just kick back and watch that. NBC News. It's important because they will decide if that case gets delayed or not. And also alternative perpetrator. Judge says trial cannot go on today due to sick juror. One of the 12 jurors got sick. The juror in question is suffering from vertigo and needs to stay home today, according to the judge. Lawyers discuss exhibits issues while trial holds for sick juror. Holy smokes. That is crazy. I wanted to really go with this, man. We're going to see if there's any other. We're going to wait here to watch Mama Combs leave, too. See if she has anything to say. Anyone have anything to say? That's why you never know what you're going to get with a Diddy trial here. You never know what you're going to get. Unbelievable, folks. Holy smokes. Court adjourned. So we put up on the screen here. We're gonna do that case this afternoon. It looks like. So no rest for us. We'll just substitute that with this other case that we've been following. The trial is adjourned for the day due to the juror calling sick. The parties are scheduled to return 8:30 Friday. With testimony, this trial now is going to be pushed into July. Reason being is testimony, they're saying on Friday only goes from 9 to 1. Not all day. I'm sure the defense is liking this because it buys them some time. All right, so people are probably starting to come out of the courthouse here. We'll take a look and we'll just see who comes out. We'll see who comes out of the courtroom here, especially Mom. Mom's like, oh, I don't have to. Today, the Diddy trial is adjourned due to a juror with vertigo. Court is off tomorrow for Juneteenth. Trial resumes Friday. Man. Well, at least we got to spend a little bit of time with each other this morning. Live look, courthouse. We'll see if Mama Combs comes out. Talk a little bit. Maybe Brendan Paul. We'll see Brendan Paul leave too. Brendan Paul came in with his in a blue buttoned up shirt and gray suit. Crazy. That is Brendan Paul. There goes Aaron Katursky going back in. This is crazy. Hey, but it is what it is. I mean, here's it is what it is, right? comes out. Yeah, it's really the third juror. So you got 12 jurors, and a quarter of the jurors already have a problem. I think it's another juror. I don't think it's juror number 7. Well, we don't even know what's going to happen to 7. That issue was sealed yesterday. This has to push this into July at that point. So the defense starts Monday and has up to 5 days. So they'll rest on Friday, closing arguments the week before 4th of July. Verdict by the 4th of July. Now, I'm sure a lot of you think Diddy's guilty and want him convicted ASAP and would love for the jury to come back within minutes and say guilty. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. A quick verdict, just due to the volume of evidence here and the jurors reviewing everything. I think it's going to be 2 days probably. I just can't see it really quickly here. I still think Brendan Paul is one stop. Interesting, Crystal. Who is one stop? One stop. I'm just gonna see who comes out. That's what we're here for. Wow, a lot of things going on. I'm seeing if there's more information that can be shared. After a brief live sound outside the courthouse as the parties are soon to be leaving outside the courthouse. After a brief discussion of admissibility of text exchange involving alleged drug dealer, court is out for the day on an account of a sick juror. It's unclear whether this juror will be able to return. And the court will make further inquiries about the juror's condition. Given the Juneteenth holiday on Thursday, it's unlikely the government will rest its case on Friday, as has expected. So Washington Post says that now the government probably will rest on Monday. Look at that. Look at that. He's leaving. He's leaving. Brendan Paul. He's leaving. They showed a different angle. He dipped out. He dipped out. Brendan Paul, they're like chasing Brendan Paul. Oh, he went out he went out this door. He went out another door. You know, there's 2 doors here. And I think this door here is where you can enter and exit too. There's a couple entrances. He dipped out. So Paul is gone. Unclear if Janice Combs left or not. Unclear if Janice Combs left. But anyway, so there's no guarantee that this juror even comes back. They're going to inquire about it, but it takes a day to inquire. Hey, Green Eye Sparkle. Thank you for the gifted membership, Green Eye Sparkle. Courtesy of Green Eye Sparkle. Lord Mama's like, what did I miss? What's happening? Third drawer? This kind of stuff is fishy to me. It appears Brendan Paul is too young to be one stop. He can't be one stop. He's only in his mid-20s.
No, those two. No, it's those two.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're signing off. Court is adjourned to Friday. We'll handle this Friday. There's nothing else really more to report about what happened today, and we'll keep you informed of what's going on. We decided in the meantime, we cover other things. We're gonna jump onto the Brian Kohlberger major hearing today in reference to whether his court trial gets delayed, alternative perpetrator, and other issues in reference to that case. So we're gonna go live this afternoon on that. So we'll set up a feed. Come if you're not familiar with the case, come on in. We'll talk about that case, because that's going to be our next trial that we're attending. Hopefully they have it scheduled, but we'll see if the judge agrees with the defense to get this delayed or not. So that's a major case. So we'll do that this afternoon. And whatever else pops up, you'll hear here on JLR Investigates. I'm sure we'll be talking about other crazy stuff. Enjoy the Juneteenth weekend. Your family, friends, and loved one. Be safe, everyone. We'll be on with something tomorrow. Something's going on. If this case isn't going on with Diddy, I'm sure other things pop up crazy in the world. All right, folks. Thanks for stopping by this morning. I wanted to hear from Brendan Paul, but he'll be back, and we will be back too. We'll all be back. So if you're following us just on this case alone, 8:15 a.m. Friday. See you then. Until next time, everyone, be safe. JLR Magnolia Investigates. Have a great day, everyone. We'll talk soon.
Not only did we finally hear from Jane, alleged victim 2 in this case, another person claiming she was coerced into prolonged sexual episodes at Sean Diddy Combs' request, but we also heard the defense grill the woman who claims Combs dangled her off of a 17-story balcony. And also, the judge got quite angry at the rap mogul for the way he was looking at the jurors. That and more with Law and Crime's in-court reporter Elizabeth Milner. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is another Law and Crime legal alert. If you receive Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible for a lawsuit. That's right, Morgan & Morgan is investigating claims that patients weren't properly warned about this risk. It's free to check, just takes a few minutes, and you don't pay unless they win. So scan the QR code on screen, click the link below, or head over to forthepeople.com/LCDepo to see if you qualify. I know I say this every day, but today was yet another important day of testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial. You had alleged victim 2, Jane, take the stand, arguably the second most important witness in this case behind Cassandra Ventura, alleged victim number 1, because she makes up individual sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution charges. She helps support the racketeering charge. But you had also the defense really grill a key witness, a woman who claims she was dangled off of a 17-story balcony by Combs. But with the defense cross-examining her, the question becomes, is that true? And the judge, by the way, was none too happy with how Combs was behaving in court. So a lot to get into. We're going to get into it all right now. Let me bring on Law and Crime's in-court reporter, Elizabeth Milner. Elizabeth, so good to see you. Thanks so much for taking the time. As always, I want to get right into the continued cross-examination of Brianna Bangolin. The cross-examination continued by Nicole Westmoreland. This is a key witness. She had testified to being dangled by Sean Combs off of a 17-story balcony. It goes to the pattern of abuse of women for racketeering. If Cassie had seen this or knew about it, it goes to the idea of coercion in sex trafficking. Look at the environment Cassie was around, the violence she was around. Did she really consent to freak-offs when Combs is around doing all these things? And Bangolin also talked about distributing drugs to Cassie and Combs, drug charges, underlying predicate crime of racketeering, just goes to the overall environment, the idea of drugs being used during all of this. So Westmoreland really dug in today. And my understanding is she started talking about drugs, threats, and maybe most importantly, Bangolin didn't leave.
Yeah, and so when they continued Brianna, aka Bonna's cross this morning, Nicole Westmoreland just came out with just exhibits to kind of show her. So, for example, we saw one exhibit. It was an exhibit we had seen while Brianna or Bonna had been testifying under direct, where it showed Cassie and the friend of hers named Bad Boy. Bad Boy spelled with an I, no relation to Diddy's Bad Boy, none of that. The photo is from April 24th of 2016 with the caption "Best Dressed Photographer." And so this was the exact same day that Bonna had accused Diddy of threatening to kill her, saying something along the lines of, "I'm the devil, I could kill you." And so Bonna says it was on or around this day where Diddy had threatened her. So I think what the defense was trying to kind of point out is maybe the dates were wrong. Maybe this didn't happen on this particular day. But then we saw another exhibit photo from May 10th of 2016 from Bonna to Cassie. It's a photo of drugs. Now, Bonna, while she was on the stand today, couldn't say or even remember necessarily what type of drug it specifically was, but just kind of looking at the photo, it definitely was a crystallized substance of something. It kind of had like a brownish, whitish color. I don't want to presume what it was, but you could tell it was definitely definitely drugs. And it was photographed next to a dime. And so Nicole Westmoreland asked Bonna, you would agree that this was taken after Diddy threatened you? And Bonna replied, true. You went on as business as usual with Miss Ventura, aka Cassie. And Bonna replied, yes. Then we saw another exhibit photo from May 31st of 2016. And I think it was a text that accompanied with the line of, can I get an amen? But the photo that went with this particular text message from Bonna to Cassie again, it was a photo showing drugs, I think in her hand or in somebody's hand. And it was drugs like pills that were blue and white. Also, you could see like a powdery white substance. Brianna couldn't verify what particular drugs were in that little baggie that the picture was taken with, but Nicole Westmoreland asked, you told us at the end of April 2016 that Mr. Combs had threatened your life, but you continued dealing with Cassie. You weren't too scared to do that, were you? And Brianna replied, I guess not. And so I think what the defense was trying to point out is even through allegations of threats to Bonna from Diddy or anything like that, that still she continued to have these relationships with Cassie, that she would show up back to Cassie's apartment, the very apartment where she was allegedly dangled from that 17th story balcony. And so I think the defense was trying to be pretty effective as far as being like, well, even though you were scared of Diddy, even though you say you were threatened by him and that you were terrified of him and fearful of him, that you still continued hanging out and dealing with his girlfriend.
And weren't there a lot of texts? I mean, texts in this case, my gosh, whatever witness you want to talk about, whether it's Mia with social media posts or her text to Combs or Cassie Ventura's text, they're being used to show there's another side of the story, that if you really claim you're the victim of this tormentor and this victim of this sex trafficker, why are you writing praising texts of him? Why are you saying you love him? Why are you encouraging freak offs or trying to set them up? What were the text messages that Ms. Bongolan was confronted with today?
Yeah, we saw a number of text exhibits. So, for example, we saw an exhibit from October 8th of 2016. It was a text message between Cassie, Bonna, and I believe Deontay, where Cassie had asked them, you ladies want to come over, have wine, smoke, cooking, sleep over tonight? And I'm just kind of paraphrasing here. And I believe it was Deontay that had replied, I was just about to hit you, LOL. And then Bonna responds, yeah, we can at like 8. And so Nicole Westmoreland asked, so you were willing to go back again to that exact same place where this incident had happened, where Diddy allegedly dangled Bonna from that 17th story ledge off of Cassie's condo? And Bonna replied, yeah. And so then we saw another exhibit photo. It was text between Bonna and Cassie, these ones from October 10th of 2016, where, and again, always paraphrasing here, Cassie in this particular message had wrote, Coolio, what are you and Friday hungry for? And Friday was Bonna's then girlfriend. I believe her real name is Sarah, but she had gone by Friday. But then Bonna had responded, cool, hit you up later, love ya, Puff wants some. And so when she was talking about this particular Puff wants some, or P wants some, as she had put in this particular message, the defense was trying to point out, okay, well, what are you trying to get P, aka Diddy, as far as a sweatshirt or a t-shirt from, I guess, their clothing line? And so Nicole Westmoreland was like, so you're asking if he wants a t-shirt or a sweatshirt? And then Bonna replied, well, we had that FaceTime call after the incident. I was trying to be cool. And then Nicole Westmoreland is like, well, didn't you tell the government during the FaceTime call that you didn't talk about the balcony incident? And then Bonna responds that she doesn't remember. So then we saw an exhibit photo from October 15th of 2016. So just a couple days after Cassie and Bonna had talked, and Bonna was asking if Puff wanted a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. Diddy actually messaged Bonna, and again, paraphrasing here because those text messages go pretty quick, where Diddy said something along the lines of, when friends get high with each other, they're not supposed to let friends F up. And then he had said something like, that's real whack. And then Nicole Westmoreland is like, well, didn't Mr. Combs want you to stop doing drugs with Cassie? Something that they alluded to when Cassie was testifying. And Bonna responded, it was confusing with just everything going on. And so it seemed like she didn't kind of necessarily know why Diddy was texting her and calling her whack and referring to her as being kind of a whack friend and effing up and that type of thing. But it seemed like the defense really was trying to use her own words and her own messages against her. The defense was kind of teasing up this message because they wanted to get it in front of the jury. And it seems like they were able to do that, especially with the whole that Bonna was allegedly real whack for giving Cassie drugs, and something must have happened with the incident of the drugs too.
Yeah, so a couple of things there, right? I mean, if she was dangled off a 17-story balcony, the jury could say, I think it's kind of odd. She's asking if he wants a sweatshirt 2 weeks later. If he's really this sex trafficker and this violent individual who is supplying people with drugs to make them more compliant for sexual episodes, why the concern? Why the concern about the drug use here? And this is what makes this not a clean prosecution. And I understand that was only the beginning, because Elizabeth, didn't they also really grill her about her lawsuit, the civil suit that she filed against Sean Combs? And it really concerned also the lawyer that she had at one point, who apparently she fired and then retained new counsel, which goes into this whole complexity of, was she making legitimate allegations, or were legitimate allegations being made on her behalf? What did they talk about with the lawsuit?
So the lawsuit, which I've read, I've covered this story when it was first filed just last year. And so the defense really kind of got into it with Bonna about this. And so Nicole Westmoreland was like, so you aren't saying that Cassie saw this? And then Bonna is like, well, I don't know. You have to ask her, but I heard her voice. Nicole Westmoreland is like, well, you said you hurt your leg and your neck and your back and you have nightmares and night terrors. You said the injuries in your demand letter weren't accurate. You said that Mr. Combs groped your breast. That was in your letter sent by Tyrone Blackburn, who again, Bonna said that she fired after he was getting information wrong that was sent in the demand letter, but also notably, he's an attorney who represents Little Rod Jones, who also is suing Diddy too. But as far as Nicole Westmoreland, during her line of questioning, she was like, well, is this true or not? And Bonna responds, that's incorrect, about her breasts being groped to the point that it had left bruises on her body. She's asked, you reviewed your lawsuit. Your new civil lawyer said the exact same thing. And Bonna responds, I'm aware. Well, you told the government that Diddy or Puffy grabbed your breast. And then Brianna said, well, I told them where he placed his hands. Then Nicole Westmoreland's like, well, on January 18th of 2024, during your first meeting with the government, you never mentioned that Mr. Combs grabbed your breast. And then Brianna responds, I don't remember. Nicole Westmoreland asked, well, isn't it true your lawyer, that being Tyrone Blackburn at the time, started that rumor and that wasn't true, but you still continued knowing that it wasn't true and you kept on repeating it, even though you knew it wasn't true? And Bonna responds, I can't speak for him, so I'm having a hard time answering. And she was really kind of struggling this morning to kind of answer the questions, to the point where Nicole Westmoreland really kind of had to ask her the same questions in just different forms and fashions. And there were lots of responses of just long pauses, or I can't really speak for this particular person, or I'm having a hard time answering. And then she would ask kind of multiple times, can you re-say it? Can you rephrase this question? And then Nicole Westmoreland just comes out and is like, well, did you believe the only way to file the lawsuit was to say that Mr. Combs sexually assaulted you? And then Bonna responds, I don't recall. And so I think maybe there was a lot of apprehension in just Bonna's answers from today, but I feel like the defense was really kind of pointing out and really kind of showing to the jury that Bonna doesn't necessarily remember all the details, but she's still staying firm that this balcony incident happened, but then the details are wrong, the allegations are wrong. Sometimes in one letter, the dates are wrong. In another letter, the dates are this. And so I think, especially towards the end of her cross-examination today, they really kind of honed in on, when did this happen? And are you sure that this incident did happen? It seemed like that's kind of where the questioning was leading up to, especially towards the end of her cross.
And didn't they also confront her with receipts, hotel receipts, to say, you claim Sean Combs is in one location when he might have been in a completely different location?
And so I am myself a receipts proof timeline type of girl, and that's kind of an ode to Real Housewives. But they did kind of confront Bonna with the receipts and the proof. And so Bonna was alleging that this incident happened on September 26th or 25th of 2016. However, we see one exhibit photo. It's from the Trump Hotel. It's kind of a receipt from a hotel stay, and it was for Frank Black, who we now know was an alias that Diddy was using. And the arrival shows on this particular document that the arrival of Sean Combs, aka Frank Black, was on September 24th of 2016, and he stayed all the way until September 29th of 2016. And so even prior to us seeing this particular exhibit and this particular document, Nicole Westmoreland was asking Brianna, you worked on the Bad Boy tour. Do you remember Cassie and Diddy schedule during this time? Did you know that Mr. Combs was performing on September 25th of 2016? And that even he and Miss Ventura, who we know as Cassie, were in New Jersey at certain parts of this. And then Brianna is responding, I can't recall. And then Nicole Westmoreland asked, are you aware on September 26th of 2016 that Cassie and Diddy were at this charity event, and then Diddy later went to this other event? And Brianna responds, I don't know. And so while we're seeing this exhibit, we do see charges, including charges for breakfast on September 25th of 2016 and on September 26th of 2016, as well as September 27th of 2016, where you can see purchases for in-room breakfast for $210.31, $107.84, $102.77, and $344 for this breakfast, which is a lot of money for breakfast. But when you're somebody like Sean Combs, I feel like that's probably chump change to him. But at the end of this kind of line of questioning, then Nicole Westmoreland asked, well, you agree that one person can't be at the same place at the same time? And then it seemed like the defense, they were alleging, because Bono testified that this incident happened on September 26th of 2016, where you can see from this particular document that Diddy wasn't even in Los Angeles around this time period. He was actually here in New York at the Trump Hotel during this particular time frame. And so I was kind of wondering to myself, why wasn't that just the first line of questioning? But I feel like towards the end, it might have been pretty effective, because if you're seeing this particular receipt, then there's possibly no way to prove that this might have happened on this particular day.
Look, I could see where the defense is saying you don't remember these details. How on earth can that be? But I imagine when she was questioned again on redirect by the prosecution, they could say it's a traumatic episode. You might not remember the dates, the details, but it happened. And aren't they backed up with photographs of her injuries? I mean, was there a way the defense tried to argue against that? Was that something that the prosecution really focused in on redirect? I mean, what did the prosecution do to try to rehabilitate or clean up her testimony? And also, did the defense say anything about the photographs of the injuries?
Well, I'll take the second part of your question first, where the defense did kind of bring out Bonna's injuries. And I remember yesterday saying, like, these were really kind of gnarly injuries that you could see. It was really of a bruised leg, had a little hole poked in it, but they brought that photo out again. And so this was of Bonna's injured leg. It's from September 26th of 2016. And we see the metadata of this photo that was taken, and it's at 9:45 a.m. And Bonna is asked about this metadata from this photo. And so Diddy, you can see, is kind of nodding during this time frame, because that's when the defense kind of segued into that Diddy was on tour during this time frame, and that he was even in Los Angeles. He was over in New York or New Jersey, just on the opposite side of the country. And so then Nicole Westmoreland, towards the very, very end of her cross, is like, Mr. Combs didn't cause the injuries from the photos we saw. And Bono responds, I can't agree with you. Then we see that exhibit photo again of the bruise on Bonna's leg and that hole, particularly in that bruise. And then Nicole Westmoreland's like, you came in here and you lied. And Bonna ends her cross-examination by saying at the end, I can't agree with you. And so I felt like when the redirect happened, Bonna kind of confirmed that she didn't see the government's meeting notes, which is something that a lot of witnesses have testified to, because the defense during their cross-examination, which began yesterday and continued into today, they were really kind of throwing her meeting notes at her when she told the prosecution these allegations on what specific meetings that she had with them. And that Bonna had explained that she never checked these particular documents for any type of accuracy. Then Bonna says that the only conversations that she had with Cassie, as far as Cassie's lawsuit goes, was just about Cassie using Bonna's name in her lawsuit, which she didn't want to happen. Bonna didn't want her name to be used in Cassie's now settled lawsuit. And so Bonna was asked, were you and Cassie trying to make up this story or tell Cassie what had happened to you? And then that was kind of an objection. It was sustained. Then Bonna is asked by the prosecution, do you have any doubts that Mr. Combs held you up on the balcony? And Bonna responds, I have no doubts. She is asked, did you tell Cassie that you were going to file a lawsuit? Bonna says no. Are you getting money today to testify? And why are you here today? Bonna says no. And she's here today, testifying today and even yesterday, to get justice, something that she had said a couple times during her testimony. Then she's asked by the prosecution, do you remember every single detail from the balcony incident? Bonna says no. How did you feel when he held you on the balcony? I was terrified, she says. Bonna confirms that the balcony incident did happen, and she spoke about this during every government meeting. And so it seemed that from her perspective, she was really adamant that this particular incident did happen, but she just wasn't clear about what date it had actually happened.
So I think the jury might have a field day trying to make sense of that testimony. I don't think it's arguably the strongest witness for the prosecution. And then we go into when she leaves the stand. Wasn't an exhibit put up that caused a little bit of a stir?
Yeah, there was. And so this was an exhibit from March 25th of 2024. It was kind of one of those stipulations between the parties about the Okalaka airport, but it was about the particular data that was extracted, this one particularly from Christina Quorum's phone. And so you see these text messages between Cassie and Christina Quorum, and Cassie says, "Hey, I just found out something crazy. He came into my house while my friends were here. We were sleeping. He went to Bonna, choked her, and dangled her feet off the balcony." Christina Quorum responds, "What?" And Cassie says, "I have to stay away." And so the government really wanted to introduce this piece of evidence because I think that they might be kind of feeling some type of way in a sense that all of their witnesses, they can't recall these certain dates. But for this particular message, this was sent on September 30th of 2016. And so as far as just when this incident or alleged incident may have occurred, it might have occurred on September 30th, or it could have occurred on September 29th if you're interpreting it that way. Because again, Bonna didn't recall what particular date this happened, but she's been adamant throughout her testimony that this did happen. So I think the government really wanted to introduce this piece of evidence because the defense was implying that Bonna was lying. And so they wanted to show, okay, well, somebody told Cassie that this had happened. Cassie is talking to Christina Quorum about this. And so that message will go back to the jury when they do deliberate on this case soon, or eventually, I should say.
And it does become a question. And it does become a question whether or not Christina Quorum is going to be called as a witness and maybe can testify about that message. Okay. Now, before we move into the next witness, there was something that happened that wasn't good for Sean Combs' side. My understanding was the judge was not too happy about Sean Combs' behavior, and he made it known after the jurors left the room, right?
Yeah, he did. So unfortunately, this was a moment where every time there's arguments outside the presence of the jury, right before we get to the lunch break, I'm always like, okay, should I go now? Should I leave? What is it? And so unfortunately for today, I wasn't there when the judge kind of really got into Diddy about this, but notably he was doing this. This was something that even I, sitting in the gallery, was noticing this. For example, when Bonna was testifying about whether or not she had worked on the Bad Boy reunion tour, you could see Diddy over at his seat just really nodding. Sometimes when the jury comes in, yes, we're all looking at the jury come in, taking their seats, but there are times you do see him peeking over at their side, maybe possibly seeing how they're responding. And it also could be interpreted that maybe he's looking at the prosecution or whatever attorney is doing this type of questioning. But I feel like it was only a matter of time for the judge to say something, because it's something that a lot of us have noticed even as this trial was beginning, I should say.
Yeah, you can't look at the jurors and start nodding to them. You can't influence the jurors in any improper way. That's a big no-no, could potentially get kicked out of court for doing that. Okay, then we moved on to Enrique Santos. So he worked at the Southern District of New York, right? He's done cell phone extractions. What did he testify to? I saw something about a screenshot.
Yeah, so he was really testifying just about the analysis that he had done on Cassie's devices. So he extracted 3 iPhones in this case, and the source of the devices were Cassandra Ventura, aka Cassie. And Enrique Santos was saying that there were no errors that he is aware of happening, but he did note that one of the devices had previously been repaired. And so he said that they recorded several deleted data points, which is kind of a good portion of the message. So all the deleted data that, I guess, when somebody has their phone up, they think that a text message is deleted. They ended up actually recovering a good portion of that. And so we see an exhibit, and that being the Cellbrite reader report. So you see a text message from Cassie to Garen, who notably is the contact that Cassie had for Cowboys for Angels, from February 14th of 2017, which is Valentine's Day. And then you see Cassie just say one simple message, "Hey." And Enrique Santos was like, we also export audio files, but the audio files are normally separately from the PDF and these Cellbrite reports. And then emojis, because, a lot of people love to use emojis when they're sending messages back and forth, that sometimes they can't be interpreted and they kind of show up unrecognizable in the Cellbrite data report. But we see another exhibit of the Cellbrite data files report where you can kind of see a message when it's created, when it's modified, and when it's accessed. And so created obviously means if I'm sending a text message to my mom on today's date, then it says, "Hey, from Elizabeth on June 5th of 2025, the day it was modified." then the day it's accessed by the U.S. attorneys or whoever is respectively analyzing this particular piece of data. And so even during the cross-examination, I was kind of like, okay, well, what kind of cross is there really going to be? And it seemed like the cross, which was conducted by Tinny Garagos, it really kind of focused on the deleted messages. For example, Tinny Garagos asked, is it true that there were many deleted messages, like 2/3 of them were deleted? And Enrique Santos responds, yes. How are you able to recover these types of messages? Enrique Santos says, it doesn't mean it goes away all of a sudden. Although they aren't accessible to the user, it's still in the phone's operating systems. So again, everyone, even if you delete all your text messages, all your photos, they still show up some way, somehow, just within the system. And so we see an exhibit of the capture date from a Cellbrite report, where Tinny Garagos asked, how do you know that the capture time is really correct? And so Enrique Santos was like, well, it's the most accurate reflection. We just don't speak in the absolute. So he can't say 100% that this is when this particular data point was created or anything like that. But for the most part, he says it does have the most accurate reflection. And then shortly after, the cross-examination ended and Enrique Santos was off the witness stand. So he was a really short witness today before we had the next big witness to testify.
Yeah, I don't know how much everybody's going to be focusing on Enrique Santos, because then you had Jane. So Jane takes the stand. This is alleged victim number 2. This is somebody we were anticipating her testimony. Again, she makes up several counts in the indictment. I said it before. I think she's arguably the second most important witness behind Cassie. Now, before we begin about her testimony, so everybody's clear, you are limited in what you can report about what you're seeing in that courtroom and about her, right?
Yeah, I'm very limited to it. So I cannot describe her physical appearance, necessarily really her demeanor while she's on the stand, or any identifiable traits that she had while she was even testifying. I can't speak on just her more personal information, nor, and I think one of the biggest things is, nor can we see any of the exhibits. And so if I'm going to be talking about these exhibits, it's from what I can hear inside the courtroom. And unfortunately, it's not from what I can see inside the courtroom this time around.
By the way, there was also another issue regarding reporters, right? And whether or not they're following the court orders in terms of what they can report. Real quick, if you can break down what that's about before we get into Jane.
Yeah, absolutely. So it started this morning, bright and early. It's one of the first things the judge had kind of told us, where he felt like he was kind of lecturing us, but he said it in a very nice tone. So it seemed like he was just kind of reminding us, not even just in the main courtroom, but also in the overflow rooms, which he says is an extension of the main courtroom. And he said to pretend, if you're in the overflow room, that pretend just like as if he's on the bench in there, and just, again, it's an extension of the courtroom. And so he reminded us today that we are not to document Jane and her appearance. We're very limited in what we can really say about her. And even as far as the court sketches you guys are going to see of Jane in particular, you cannot see her face or anything like that. Really, this court sketch artist kind of just draws just a faceless face, if that makes sense.
Okay, so now with that in mind, let's take it a little piece by piece. She started by talking about her background and how she began her relationship with Sean Combs. And at the start of it, it seemed nice. So talk to us about what we learned about her background, when she met Combs, and the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah, so as far as her background goes, first, they start with an exhibit photo. Again, that exhibit photo is private, but it's to confirm that Jane is who she really is. And so they show this particular exhibit just to the jury only, so we cannot see it in the gallery. But we do know that it was Jane's driver's license with her real name. But we're still going to be calling her Jane. And so Jane grew up in California. And as far as her relationship with Diddy goes, it lasted for a pretty lengthy period, from 2021 all the way up until 2024. And notably, she said the relationship ended when Diddy got arrested. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting point. I didn't realize the relationship had lasted that long. And so she was explaining that during the relationship with Diddy, she called him just kind of cutesy names in a way. She would call him Sean, which is his real name. She would call him Ernie. And as far as Ernie, yes, it's like Ernie from Sesame Street, because she would be going by Bert, and so the two would be Bert and Ernie together. But she also said she called him things like Schnookums and Baby. And so she said that the two first met like for real on a girls trip to Miami, because actually her friend at the time, or the friend that she still has, was dating him around this time period. But she says she's met him before at a Father's Day celebration, kind of in passing. And so she explained even in 2020 that she was drawn to him instantly. She said very nice things about him, that he was really sweet. They went on a yacht, they had drinks, they were flirty together. And then when the two exchanged numbers, that's when the two began calling each other Bert and Ernie. And so even while she's on the stand describing her relationship with Sean Combs, she really seemed kind of like, oh, I was head over heels in love with him. We said love you very quickly in the relationship. And she was saying that their relationship for the most part was pretty private. And even as far as her posting him on social media, that she only posted him about maybe once. But I thought what was also interesting is that Diddy had notably given her a lot of money at times. And so money to either pay for her rent, money to fly out to go see him, just a lot of money that was that she was getting from Sean Combs. Jane had explained that Diddy was larger than life. He was super charming. He was immediately immersed in conversations with her, and that their first date lasted a long period of time. It lasted 5 days. She said on that first date she had told Diddy about the relationship she was in with someone who was close to Diddy, and also kind of explained her child's father's relationship, and that the two don't necessarily get along. And Diddy said that he didn't mind that. And she said on their first date together that they made lots of love. That's how she described it. And she said after leaving Miami at this time period, because she was living kind of in the northern East Coast area, she said that she was head over heels for him, and that Diddy ended up taking her to Turks and Caicos. She said it was amazing, and that she flew to Miami, and then they took his plane because he is a very rich man. And of course, he has his own private plane to take him on trips. And on those trips were people including Christina Koram, the chef, the butler too. And so you see we see an exhibit, but an exhibit is shown of Christina Koram. It's privately shown. And then Jane was explaining from Turks, they went to the Bahamas, and that they had a lot of time connecting together and just a lot of time together. So then another exhibit is privately shown, and you could hear the audio of this. They're at a villa at Turks and Caicos over by the pool. You can hear the video. It's kind of some music playing, and you can't see it, but the prosecution asked who also appeared in this video, and Jane had verified that it was Sean. They were at the pool together, and she was explaining that she had told Diddy about the work that she did, that she was a content creator, but also a single mom, and that Diddy gave her a love bracelet and told her that he would send her money at the end of the trip, and not just any money, not a couple like $50 or $100, maybe even $1,000. No, it was a lot of money. It was $10,000 that he said that he was going to send her at the end of the trip, just to have $10,000, which must be pretty nice for someone to send $10,000 just because. But during the trip, Jane said that she started to use some types of drugs, including ecstasy. She said she had taken it before, but that Diddy was the one who suggested it at various points during the trip, like 10 times, as she said, and said that he had opened his hand, a pill was there, and said, take this, it'll be more fun. And then she said her body began convulsing during this trip. She fell to the sand, and that Christina Koram and the butler had to put her in a lukewarm shower. And then she said every other day that while on this trip that they would take this ecstasy pill, I should say. And so it seemed like that was kind of the start of the relationship. One, drugs, but also a lot of money kind of being thrown at her just right at the beginning. But according to Jane, she was just head over heels during this.
So I don't hear sex trafficking yet. I don't hear that force, fraud, coercion. However, starts talking about, giving drugs when having sex, other people, his associates taking care of her. You're starting to see the flavors of then maybe things of value being given in exchange for sex acts. Why do I say that? Because then she talks about a change. She talks about a change in their sex life, right?
Yeah, she did. And she really started getting pretty emotional at this point, where you could hear her voice kind of shaking, as well as she started crying while she was on the witness stand. And this change in their relationship happened in May of 2021. And that was when Diddy started talking about fantasies at this point. Jane had said, he wanted me to talk about other men. Do you like what you see? Pretend it's here. And this is while the two were watching pornography together. She had explained that Diddy was the one who had initiated the fantasy talks, and that around this time, Jane had been awake for 24 hours. She was doing drugs like ecstasy and Molly. and that Diddy had told Jane, I can make this fantasy a reality. And so Jane said, okay. And she said okay because it turned him on and she thought she was playing into this fantasy. So she said during this period that Jane went to the bathroom after he said that he could make this fantasy a reality. She went to the bathroom, and then when she came out of the restroom, Diddy was in a robe and staring very intently at his phone, saying, we could make this happen tonight on this particular night. She again said, okay, but she said she was still high on drugs during this. And then Diddy took her to a hotel room, and this was in Miami. She said she saw assistants setting up the hotel room, but she doesn't remember particularly which assistants were doing that. But Diddy told her to relax, that it would be fun, and that he knew the guy. And Jane was super nervous, she says. She never met this person before. And so as we kind of get testimony, we do know that other man was an escort or an entertainer, as she calls him, while on the stand. And so Jane was explaining that Diddy walked out of the bedroom and began talking to the other guy because this other man had arrived at this point. And then Diddy told her to come out, and that while she came out of this bedroom at this hotel, that she was wearing lingerie and she was wearing very high heels, or stripper heels, as she calls them, but she had a robe over herself. And then the entertainer that, unfortunately, we didn't see it as exhibit photo, but she says that the entertainer or escort was a man named Don. And she could tell that Don and Diddy kind of knew each other. She said she got a sense that they knew each other, but she said that he was from, she calls it Cowboys and Angels, but you can't help but think, is it possible that she meant Cowboys for Angels, something that a service that even Cassie herself said she used while she was testifying. And so she said that slowly that Diddy was telling her to relax. She was nervous. She began dancing. Then she took off her robe and Dawn got turned on. And next thing you know, Dawn is coming closer to her and it's starting to make her try to feel comfortable. And while all of this was going on, Diddy was watching this and he was pleasuring himself or masturbating. And Dawn suggested that she perform oral sex on him, and Diddy was watching throughout all of this. And so I think right here I can say that while Cassie had called these types of nights freak offs, when Jane was on the stand, she says that they refer to these as debauchery nights or hotel nights. Even if these sexual sessions don't happen at a hotel, they may happen at her apartment or at his home. That they still call it hotel nights or debauchery nights. And so Jane was explaining that she moved to the bedroom to get things going. She asked Dawn to wear a condom. Diddy didn't want that. Diddy said that Dawn was clean and that these guys get tested all the time. And then Diddy ended up giving Dawn a condom in the last moment. Diddy just watched while Dawn had sex with Jane. Then afterwards, Dawn left and finished on her. And then even after this session with the escort, that Diddy and Jane continued to have sex. And then the next day, the two just went on a boat. And she said, I think what's interesting too, Jesse, is just what she explained as far as the first night goes, where she said, I felt exhilarated from that experience. It was taboo. It was fun. She said, I didn't think we'd be doing it again. I thought maybe one time or maybe another time that's on a random night. But she said, I felt that night Pandora's box. It was a door I was unable to shut. It was just too much of it. So maybe that might possibly go into count for just a little bit. But I'm interested to know your thoughts on just her reaction to doing it.
So at this point, and I know she's going to talk a little bit more about it, at this point, I don't see sex trafficking. It's very similar to Cassie when she talked about initially agreeing to freak off. So if Cassie's testimony had ended right there and they went to lunch or they ended for the day, you could say, what's going on here? It just so happened they finished her testimony, Jane. There's obviously more we're going to get into what she said, but they finished her testimony where I think, and we'll get into it, I think it supports transportation to engage in prostitution. That essentially she was being paid or given things of value to engage in sex acts and was transported to different places. What I don't hear is the level of violence and threats and force and fraud that was used to induce her. However, let's talk about this. She said it opened Pandora's box. And I'm curious what she meant by that. How did this escalate? And whether or not coercion and finances were a way to induce her to engage in these acts. Talk to us about that.
So as far as these debauchery nights, aka hotel nights, and maybe just some of these freak off nights, Jane was explaining that these went on from May of 2021 to October of 2022. 3, and they happened every single time she saw Diddy, that he wanted to do these hotel nights every single time he saw her, and that Sean or Diddy didn't give Jane much notice to see him, but she made herself available to see him whenever he wanted to. And so Jane was explaining, similar to how Cassie's testimony was, that she made sure her hair was great, her nails were great, she had her glam done, because in addition to her liking to look well put together, she explained that Diddy liked that too. And so she, very much like Cassie, was explaining that Diddy had certain preferences for how she liked her hair. For example, Diddy liked Jane wore her hair straight, but during these hotel nights, he liked them in a ponytail. He liked his nails to be a certain way that they needed to.
Yes, she'd have been walking up the hill. I don't know. He told me 1 o'clock. You said 12. The bus driver told me 1. He told me 1, so I said, all right, I was just telling D's. That's crazy. It'd be like 12:30. I know. What if Jameer would have went past? She'd have walked up the hill. He's flipping. Like nobody. He said nobody told me, but you know she hungry. Ain't nothing to eat. No, nobody. I know she'll find something, but I don't like when she do that. You know, she ain't she's making up pancakes and all that. So I just told him to just get some McDonald's. She said, yeah. She only eat it for a snack. When I get home, I'll make something.
So Sean said, what up?
Oh, yeah, D said, what's up? Yeah, guess what? But guess what? Then the rim, another rim was bent. So when he was putting the rim in the front, and putting the one that they was welding, he found the bent rim. So and they was $90 to do it, what you call it, the $60 mistake. You know I was pissed. $90. Yeah.
This creamy white color, and that at one point that Diddy wanted her to get.
But done like $90. I ain't gonna drive around nobody else.
Yeah. Diddy been canceled for the day, so we gonna shut it all down. And holler back in a minute. It's your boy, Brando knows. Let's get it.
Sun rooftop, digging in the scene with the gangster leaning up. And we ain't coming down, see on my face that smile, see on my head that crown, I'm on top of the world, top of the town, baby.
I moved out the hood that had the church on the corner where I sit and talk shit all day cause I wanna. And on top of that, wasn't none of y'all gonna do nothing but keep running your mouth and keep frontin'. Go ahead and say something. I'll wait. I ain't gonna wait for ladies in a minute I'm escape. Cause there is no debate. No, it's not an option. You gotta keep the clock watch.
Sun rooftop, digging in the scene with the gangster leaning